Now, you're probably saying, now, if I've got bad credit, how in the world can I get a credit card? How many people have heard of secured credit cards? Anyone has a secured credit card? Okay, I got a few hands. Can you tell me which company that you're using for your secured credit card? Wells Fargo is one. Capital One. Bank of America. Okay, so you hear these names of these companies you might be able to go to get a secured credit card. With a secured credit card, you're going to make a deposit at the bank. When you make that deposit at the bank, say about the minimum you can get is $300. You make that deposit at the bank, and they will allow you to borrow up to the amount of the deposit that you made. Just keep in mind is that deposit is the collateral for what you're going to charge. So we recommend that if you have no revolving credit, that you want to get a secured credit card. That secured credit card counts for 30% of your score. And if you pay on time, another 35% of payment history, then 65% of your credit score is going to be based on having that secured credit card. Now, when you get the secured credit card, do not look at that as a shopping card. I don't want you to be out shopping one day and you say, oh, I remember I have that secured card. Let me get it. Because keep in mind that the credit score wants you to keep that balance low. So I want you to look at this as a tool to increase your credit score. So you're going to charge, pay off, charge, pay off, charge, pay off. Probably charge something that you normally was going to pay cash for so that you have the money to pay it off. So you charge, pay off, charge, pay off. Real important. Okay, his question is, we talk in the class about some free sites that you can go to get your credit score. Credit Karma, creditkarma.com is a free site that you can go to. There's creditcard.com, Quizzle.com. These are free sites that you can go to get a copy, get your credit score. Now, they're all going to be different. And the reason the scores are going to be different because they use different types of different scales. So you might have one using a credit plus, scoring model. You might have one that uses the advantage scoring model. So there's different scoring models that are used. That's why when you get the scores, they're all going to be different. And so in the class, we always say, use those different free scores so you can see what those reasons are for your score to be low, and you can keep track of what's happening, on your credit score. But when you get ready to purchase your home, you want to make sure that you look at the FICO score. And you can go to myfico.com to get that, because that's the score that most lenders use. Okay, so it's a prepaid card from who?
Credit One.
Okay, he said if you can get a prepaid card from Credit One, is that a secured card you're talking about? Okay, a secured card from Credit One, then you can get a free credit score every month. It comes on your statement. Okay, so we've got Capital One that is also doing the same thing, providing a free credit score, if you use their credit card. So that's another source that you can have. Okay, so 1 year and a half at least for his score to increase. And it really doesn't. A lot of times when people come in, it does not really take that long. One of the things that the credit score looks at is payment history. So a lot of times you think if I pay off all my collection accounts that I have, then my score is going to improve. No, your score is not going to improve until you have established good payment history. You pay on time. That's 35% of your score. You're going to see your score increase. If you don't have a revolving credit card on your credit report, then until you get that, you're not going to see your score increase. Your score is going to continue to increase. I've only got about 15 minutes left, so I'm going to move on. Disputing information, we're on page number 5. Very first thing that you want to do is to look at the personal information section that's on your credit report. If you look in that section and you see some names and addresses that are not yours, you know that you've never lived in New York City, then you want to make sure that you review that credit report, because there's probably someone else's information on your credit report. If you have a common name, I have a common name, Joyce Brown. You know, there's a lot of Joyce Browns out there, a lot of Michael Smiths out there. So if you have a common name, it's not unusual, you know, for someone else's information to get on your credit report. Second thing you're going to look on your credit report and see if there's accounts that are on the credit report that are longer than 7 years. You know that when that account went delinquent, it was 10 years ago or 15 years ago when you were in college. That account must come off. It cannot, any delinquent account cannot stay on your credit report for longer than 7 years. If you have unpaid tax liens, they'll stay on your credit report for 15 years. Bankruptcies from the date of filing, Chapter 7, 11, and 12, 10 years. Chapter 13 bankruptcy, 7 years. And then credit inquiries stay on the credit report for 2 years. So if you look on your credit report and you know that is old, it should not be on your credit report, you need to make sure you dispute that information, and that comes off. And that's what you're usually paying credit repair companies, to dispute off the old information, which you can do yourself. Most of the credit, well, not most, all of the credit reporting agencies have to keep the date of original delinquency in their records. Once an account has gone delinquent, say it's a credit card that you have, after 6 months of non-payment on that credit card, that creditor must write that account off. And they have to report, this is federal law, they have to report it to the credit reporting agencies, the date of delinquency that that account went delinquent. So it's very easy. If you were not sure, you know, when this account went delinquent, you think it's very old, you can contact the credit reporting agencies and they will give you that information. Now, I've given you a little example in your packet. What if you went to ABC clothing store and you opened up a credit card with them, you paid on that credit card, and then all of a sudden you could not pay on it any longer. And so after 6 months, that account went delinquent. Then the company kept it for a while. They saw that, okay, well, don't look like we're going to be able to collect on this, and they sell it to a third party. So once that original creditor, they will still show on your credit report that account was charged off or written off because you could not, you did not pay it. But that balance should show a zero balance. So the original creditor that sells that account to someone else, they must show a zero balance on that account. Now, if they don't sell it, you know, it's going to show that you still have a balance. Now, one of my companies that I can't talk about because I'm on video right now, they will not sell their accounts. And so you'll find on your credit report that you may have had a credit limit of $300 and now you owe them $1,800. And that is really messing up your credit score. You're not going to be able to improve your credit score until you handle that account. So just keep that in mind.
Is this company that's still in business?
Yes, and you can ask me after this video. Sunburst collections. So say ABC clothing store said they couldn't collect, they sell it to Sunburst Collections. When it goes to Sunburst Collections, Sunburst puts a new delinquency on your credit report. New delinquency goes on your credit report. Now, Sunburst says, okay, doesn't look like we can collect on this account. So Sunburst then sells it to Fred's Collection Agency. Fred Collection Agency gets the account. You know, maybe you lost your job before. Maybe, you know, your family member died and left you some money. So now you're able to pay that account. So you pay that account and it's going to show paid collection. So keep in mind, when you pay a collection account, unless you negotiate with them for deletion, it's just going to show that it's a paid account. So then after the 7 years is up, so it went delinquent originally in March of 2008, And then after 7 years, it's going to come off the credit report. Then the credit reporting agency will delete all 3 of those accounts at the end of 7 years. So even though those accounts are sold back and forth, it's okay that they're sold back and forth, because they're all going to come off. If you can't afford to pay them, they will all come off after 7 years. Now, keep in mind that it cannot hurt you as far as your credit is concerned for the 7 years, but that creditor can call you for the rest of your life. Okay, so let's look at the dispute process. So how will you dispute? Very first thing you want to do is that you want to dispute any inaccurate or out-of-date, reporting. So you're going to dispute that with the Experian, Equifax, or TransUnion. And they have to respond to you within 30 days. So after 30 days, let's say if they just leave it on the credit report, it doesn't come off, then the second thing that you probably want to look at is maybe writing a letter, sending documentation. If you have documentation to prove that account should be removed from your credit report, then you're going to send that documentation to the credit reporting agency. If you don't have documentation, it's probably not going to come off the credit report. So you send in the documentation. If that does not work, then you're going to contact the original creditor and try to negotiate with them and say, look, here's my documentation. Say showing that I really do not owe that. A lot of times this happens with, collection companies because the account has been sold over and over so many times. So once you have provided that information to the creditor, then surely they, with the documentation, they'll contact the credit reporting agency and have that removed, from your credit report. But say they won't do that, then you can make a complaint with the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau. Really good place to make a dispute with right now. This is a new bureau that was just created a couple years ago. Really good place, good response. You can hire an attorney or you can just leave it alone, saying that if it doesn't affect your ability to be approved. Now, even though you can dispute, don't get too happy with disputing, because if you dispute trying to get everything off, it may hurt you when it comes to time to applying to get your mortgage loan. And just know that good credit's going to stay on your credit report, for about 10 years. And so we kind of talked already about the secured credit cards and, how you're going to rebuild your credit. And so I'm going to go ahead and open it up just for a few questions. Okay, good question. What is a revolving credit card? A revolving credit card is a card in which you're given a maximum amount that you can charge. Say, for example, you were given a maximum amount of $1,000. You can charge up to that amount of $1,000. And as your balance increases, your monthly payment will increase. So every month you'll receive a statement, and as your balance increases or decreases, your monthly payment is going to be based on that. Okay. Her question is, if you've taken care of the items on your credit report, how long does it take for your credit score to improve? And it really depends on your credit report. If you have a high balance on your credit cards and you pay those balances down, you will see an increase in your score in the next, once they report it to the credit bureau, you'll see an increase in your score in a few months. It's just that quick. If you do not have any good payment history, that's on your credit report, that's going to take a little bit longer, because it's going to take a while for you to build that credit. And usually no good payment history on a credit report, you're probably looking at, about a year or more before you'll see any change in your score. If you have a lot of delinquencies, collections on your credit report, and you're able to negotiate with the creditor to have them delete it off the credit report, you'll see almost immediate increase, in your credit score. Okay, the classes are held at 2377 North Stemmons Freeway. It's in the Dallas County Health and Human Services Building, 2377 North Stemmons Freeway, and that's in Dallas 75207. It's on the 7th floor, room 751, 214-819-6060. 214, suite number, suite 7. The classes are in room 751. 751. Her question was, do the same rules apply for student loans? And as far as delinquent student loans appearing on your credit report, the same rules apply. It can only stay on the credit report for 7 years. But school loans never go away. And when you apply for a mortgage loan, especially an FHA loan, that's the most lenient, they have a system they call CAVERS, in which they put your social security number in that system, and it will pop up and say claim, and it says that you would have to pay off the student loan before you could apply, for a mortgage loan. Her question was, what effect does a tax lien have on your credit report? The tax lien is going to show up in that public record section. You would not be able to apply for a mortgage loan unless that tax lien has been released, or you can show that you have been making timely payments on that tax lien. But if the tax lien is too much, you probably are not going to get approved on a mortgage loan until it has been paid. Her question is, if you have a student loan that you've been paying on time, is up to date, would it affect your ability to qualify for a mortgage loan? For a student loan, for them not to consider the monthly payment, it had to be deferred for at least 1 year. Some lenders want that deferral to even be longer than that. I've even heard one lender say 3 years deferral on the student loan. But if you have 5 or 6 entries, trade lines on the credit report showing student loan, don't worry about that, because you've paid them on time. That's 6 lines of good credit, that's helping you. Her question is, if you're going to get a secured credit card, how many secured credit cards would you get? And usually it depends on how low your credit score is. So if you have a very low credit score, I would say you probably would want, 2 or 3. If your score is, say 600 or less, I would say it definitely 2. If you got other good payment history on your credit report and no revolving credit, you're going to definitely need at least 1. 30% of your credit score is based if you have a revolving credit card. So if you don't have any, you definitely are going to have 1. Her question was how having a membership at a credit union would affect your score. Most credit unions have an installment loan, which you make the same monthly payment each month, that they would recommend to you to use to help build your credit. And so that having that membership doesn't hurt, but the loan that they have, would help you build your credit. But if you wanted to see the fastest increase in your credit score, having a secured credit card will increase it higher. Then it's still good payment history that you'll have. Like I said, 35% of your credit score is based on good payment history. But if you have a secured credit card, whether from a bank or a credit union, and you pay on that each month on time, and you keep the balance low, that's 65% of your credit score.